the one message is if there's something you don't know or somebody you need to be in touch with, reach out to anybody in the industry, especially NAEC. We're here. We want to help everyone if we can. And if we don't have an answer, we would like to try and put you in touch with somebody that you could get the answer from. And again, that would be my message is be safe out there. There's no question, not worth asking.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today our guest is David Smarte, Global Education and Safety Officer with the National Association of Elevator Contractors. David started his career in 1978 as a union apprentice in Ocean City, Maryland, and he spent over 20 years in the field. David started specializing in safety over 20 years ago and joined the NAEC in a staff position in 2021 with a desire to drive safety education throughout the industry. David loves the elevator industry and loves keeping people safe. He is passionate about learning and believes every question is worth asking. Well, David, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be able to talk with you again. I'll always enjoy our conversations, and one of the things that I find most fascinating about you is just how much you love your job. And so, after 40 years, how do you still love your job so much?
It's always new. It's the people. It's just been a great industry. How do you not like something that in an industry where you have competitors that come together to try and help each other? I don't think you see that in any other industry out there at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, that's definitely true from what I've seen. And I've worked with a lot of other industries that there's something special about the elevator industry. And it from my, just watching you and others, it's like, it seems to just give you motivation, give you energy, so you want to continue to just be in that space.
Oh, absolutely. I can't imagine anybody once they get bit by this industry ever leaving it. Not willingly anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. So what is it that you love the most?
Again, I like the people. I don't care what side of the track you're on, merit, union, independent, major. They're all great people. And, although they might have a little bit of a business philosophy difference, they all come together for the industry and try to make it better, safer.
Right.
It's just so many people that have been involved in it that you've got Pete Meeks that gave me the opportunity to be able to learn to do what I do now for the last 22 years, getting into the safety component, the training component, and allowing me to volunteer with NAEC on their committees and being on the board with NAEC. Then taking all this to NAEC when I finally retired from Pete and helping them and helping all the smaller independent shops and whether union or non-union, because they just don't have the resources that NAEC is putting it together, trying to help with safety, having a voice for them on different committees, whether it be ASME for the code committees or the OSHA Alliance, or, just building technical courses for the Certified Elevator Technician program or the Accessibility Technician program.
Awesome.
It's just all challenging and fun, and I enjoy the heck out of it, and I enjoy all the volunteers and staff and other organizations such as NEEP and Workers Preservation Fund, DESA. I could keep going with them. Again, we're competitors, but we all come together to try and help each other with safety.
What it sounds like is work for you is more play than work. It sounds like you're loving it so much that it's like it.
Well, I'm kind of selfish, the networking is a very important part of it all. But I learn every time I network. So that's the selfish part. I always get something, but I always try to give something back too.
Nice. So you mentioned Pete, giving the opportunity. How did you get started in the elevator industry?
Well, I started actually with the IUEC back in 1978.
Okay.
Worked for a small independent called Vic, very short time, Vic's Elevator, and then I went on to Armor, and then I stayed with Armor when they became part of Kone, and then Kone bought Montgomery, and that's when I had left. I was with 21 years, the IUEC out of Local
Okay.
7 out of Baltimore.
Hmm.
And with Pete, I went to him as route guy, became a supervisor, and then I started doing all the training and then the safety. And, I just took a knack. When I had a bigger route, I'd always take somebody with me, and we'd spend the first couple of days doing all the maintenance, and then we do 1 day of learning for them, doing troubleshooting, setting up problems for them.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I got into the safety and the training part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you obviously started, way before your time with Pete, but what was it that first, when you realized, I guess, that, hey, this is something I love, this is something I want to keep doing. When did that first kind of click with you?
When I first started with Vic, my father had a business, and I worked with him, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. And um, Dad introduced me to one of the Vic who owned Vic's Elevator, and
Okay.
Vic offered me a job, and I'd had my fill of having my hands in the toilets and everything with my dad, and I wasn't even 16 at that point. I mean, from 13 to 18, that's what I did,
Right.
or 17, I should say. And when I was 17, I got involved, and got invited from Vic to start. Once I got my hands on the equipment and I started meeting people in the industry, it was like, there's nothing else.
Just never looked back.
I did take a brief stint to go into the military, but I had a broken auricular bone and ended up not being able to finish, and ended up getting discharged, medical discharge, honorable discharge. Went right back to the elevator. Didn't go to any
Right.
place else.
Right. That's awesome. So it sounds like you obviously had a lot of time in the field, but it was really these last, I guess, 20 something years when you started to specialize. What kind of led you to, and you talked about bringing somebody along with you. Was safety a big part of why you were doing that, to help keep them safe?
It started out more the training and understanding using the tools properly, and
Hmm.
understanding how to troubleshoot using diagrams and layouts, and for your equipment, trying to figure out. That's kind of where it started from. And then that quickly realized that you have to have safety. If you don't have safety, it costs you more money.
Sure.
Injuries, trying to replace people, downtime. So it just kind of fell together hand in hand. So I guess the 22 years I was with Delaware Elevator, about 14 of it or so, or 13 or 14, was just concentrated in the safety and the training aspect, and trying to build programs. And the whole time I was volunteering with NAEC,
Right.
helping them with their programs. 2001, I started volunteering with them. And then about almost 4 years ago is when I started with NAEC after I retired from Delaware.
Cool. Cool. What would you say it is that ultimately drives safety in the industry? I mean, you talked about, education and is it, what are the biggest factors? Is it policing it? Is it, enforcing it, or?
Policing and enforcing, to me, is not the proper terminology. It's more about caring and showing to the individuals, the things that we do aren't a penalty and they're not a punishment. It's for the betterment of them, making sure they get home to their families. That's the
Sure.
key. You want to make sure everybody gets home to their families. They have families to support. And it's not fair. It's to the families if they don't get home. So that was the
Right.
emphasis. Ray Downs always, him and I've worked together a lot on a lot of things. And Ray and I both have had the same philosophy that, you're not doing your job correctly if you're not getting people home safely.
Hey, yeah.
And
Amen to that.
training's the only way you can do it. I mean, that's why NEC got so heavily involved with um, the Alliance, the OSHA Alliance, which partnered up with NEI, IUEC, Workers Preservation Fund, NEEP, all of the offices of OSHA. Some great people that worked with OSHA: Anthony Toohey, Jim Toohey, Sandra Bullock. They were great people involved. The OSHA Alliance is still going, and you had all these major Otises and Tissons all being part of it through NEI that shared. Workers Preservation Fund, absolutely, were a great partner. Curtis DeVille,
Mhm.
providing, with approval from everybody, documents for the smaller companies to help them be safe. I mean, yeah, we may be competitors, but it's important that everybody's sharing the safety and the training of the people to make sure the industry stays safe. We share labor back and forth. It's
Sure.
important.
Yeah. Well, and I think what it sounds like to me is that, we can call it education, but it's really just helping somebody be aware that, you know what, the consequences of doing it this way are going to be so heavy that you're not going to, if you can just understand how important it is for you to do it the right way and to be safe, well, then you don't have to learn the hard way, because unfortunately there are those who have learned the hard way, and we don't want to repeat those mistakes.
Absolutely. We learn, OSHA has always been referenced as, we learn from the blood of others, and we
Mm,
don't want the same thing to happen to other people. So we try to take those and, I know we try to promote, NAEC tries to promote, NEI, NEEP, all of them, Workers' Preservation Fund, everybody tries to share all those experiences to try and get the word out. We want to be safe. We want to be a great industry. We already have great industry. We just want
sure.
everybody to take heed to that and do the best they can, be quality, be safe, understand what they got to do. And, it's really worked out. Another great partner I do want to mention is Elevator World. They do a
Sure.
tremendous job with the safety handbook, NEI, NAEC, and NEEP just recently have completed the remake. It should be coming out on to the market, I would say, published in the next month or two. And
Nice. Yeah.
it's been a really big remake. It's probably one of the biggest ones that they've done. I don't think there's a section of the book that hasn't been unturned. Dot Mahan from NEI has been a big part of it as well. Her and I are actually going to start doing some presentations on that at different
Nice.
events in
Hmm.
the industry the next year.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, no, and you've mentioned, multiple different committees, and I know you're involved with, code safety committees. What's your greatest desire from the time you spend with those different committees and groups?
The desire is to do exactly what we're doing, trying to make it easier for everybody in the industry, whether you're an inspector or a mechanic or a business owner, to understand and make it simple that you can understand what we have to do to put the equipment in safe for the riding public, for the individuals doing the work, to the business owner. And if we're all doing it right, everybody's profitable for it. You're profitable when
Sure.
you get home, you're making a good living, the business owner's happy, the building owner's happy. It's terrible event when somebody does get injured, and it affects every one of us. And that's
Absolutely.
and why we try to do what we do. I don't care what organization you're at, that's at the foremost is the training and the safety.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that fascinates me about these different groups and organizations, and is that they all, you mentioned it, that all come together, right, with kind of a single purpose. But I am curious, how do codes become code? How does hey, this is the new code. Where did that come from?
Wow, you're going way, way back before me. I know what we do today is we try to, if there's a problem or an installation issue, or if there's a request for an interpretation, being part of ASME on some of the committees I'm on, and there's multiple committees, task groups, and it's constantly evolving and changing with new equipment coming out. How does it comply? There's big look right now at the harmonization with the European codes or the ISOs
Oh, wow.
standards, and somehow all this everybody's taking different pieces of it and they're trying to put the puzzle together. And you hope that you get the puzzle right, but when you don't, that's when you get the variances or you get a relook at it. But it's a constant evolving with a lot of great people. Like I said, Scott Boucher from Coney's one of the big ones. Dave McCall from Otis. John Koshak is independent.
Sure.
You know, they all have different backgrounds, different philosophies, but when we sit in the room, we're talking about it. Everybody understands, everybody has an opinion, and you try and adjust it to where you need for everybody to work and understand it. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing about the codes.
Yeah, no, it's really neat and encouraging to hear that there's harmonization, even internationally, or at least attempts to, because I imagine, when you say way behind, before me, that there's just a lot of organic, a lot of tradition, a lot of, hey, this is how we do it. It's, there's just so much that has changed. Like you say, it's just kind of grown up over the years, and here's how we do it now. But so many different competing interests and groups, and everybody trying to do the right thing, but hitting it from a different angle.
Well, to say that, well, that's always been the way it's been done, that's always being challenged now. So
Yeah,
that's the way it was, doesn't mean it's going to be the way it's going to be.
sure.
Again, I talked with David Griffinhagen and Eric Mikulski and all these guys that are part of the union side, and they point out, hey, it doesn't always have to be the way it was.
Sure.
They're great partners in all this, and I learn a lot from all these different people. I'm constantly evolving myself, seeing different perspectives, and then listening to our members, not just our contractor members, but our supplier members. And they have pointed questions they want to get addressed or answered or try and figure it out. And um, humbly, I've been tasked to do some of that, and I'm doing the best that I can. And so far,
Sure.
it's worked out well for everyone. It's beginning to be a little overwhelming because there's so many components and so many moving
Sure.
pieces, but it's fun. Again, never bored, always like being challenged.
That's awesome. And I think it's great that you and so many others are willing to look at, this is the way we've done it, but that, if there's a better way, well, let's find a better way. Right. And I think that's the purpose of the committee structure and the subcommittees is, hey, there may be a better, safer, you know, whatever, way to make this happen that's in everybody's best interest.
You have so much knowledge is pouring into it, trying to figure and make that better wheel. You
Right.
don't want to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes you might have to. And especially with new ways of doing things. I mean, when I started in the trade, it was relay logic. Went
Sure.
from relay logic to CPUs, microprocessors now, and it's just constantly evolving. Now you have AI.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's a lot of companies working on the AI and helping with the troubleshooting component. That to me, that's my learning curve. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, the old day, you look at a print, you see a contact, you work on it's easy. Then you went to the boards. Well, the old day, you could work on those boards. They give you diagrams. You could replace components of it. Now it's just swapping. Hey, you got a bad board in this area. You get a new board. Send the
Sure.
board off, and you know, it's just so much, and it's constantly evolving. Drives are you know changing up constantly, and how you can work on the equipment and low wears that feed back into the drives to give you a better ride. Yes, they're getting more complicated. And, back in the day, it was geared. You had some gearless. Now we're looking at permanent magnet gearless. They're
Oh,
they're a
wow. Yeah.
lot more relevant now and a lot more uh, out there. A lot more.
Sure.
There's more product there that hadn't been in the past. And there's good points. There's bad points. There's a, it just you work through it and you apply the code and you try and get the code. The code doesn't work. Well, what would be the best way to do this? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of smart people out there in this industry.
Right. Well, and like you say, the technology is constantly changing too. So there's never a dull moment because something's always changing, whether it's the technology or hey, the code needs to be updated now, maybe to catch up with the technology or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is there any group that you feel like is underrepresented when it comes to safety? And if so, how could they be included more?
So the group that I would have to say that was underrepresented would be your small independent mom and pops.
Mm,
And again, I think that's why there's been such a big focus with the OSHA Alliance, with NEI and NAEC and um, the IUEC and Workers Preservation Fund and all of those they recognize that whether it's union or non-union, they don't have a voice. And it's hard for them because they're running a business every day and
sure.
it's sometimes week to week for them. So trying to get them more representation. A lot of them are joining the NAEC, which we try to
Sure.
represent them. But all these groups recognize that, and I would say it's only been within the last 5, 6 years they've noticed that, and where all this came together. So that would be the group that's underrepresented, and we're trying to do our best to help them at NAEC and trying to get them to, listen to them. What do they need, and trying to work for them.
Sure, sure. Well, and as they're invited to participate and come to the education, conferences and network, of course, call their
That's
buddies,
that's the biggest thing is networking, getting them to come to, within our organization, we have the spring conference, which is getting ready to come up with down in Hilton Head,
yep,
South Carolina. We're trying to have a very good educational conference, and that's what the spring is. Of course, the fall's also got plenty of education involved with it, but that's more of a big show so they can come see the equipment, the new equipment, put their hands on the equipment, talk with the engineers. It's great for the mechanics for the smaller shops and the bigger shops to come to these because they get to meet, network, and build that personal relationship. So they know the guy at the other end of the phone. So that's a big part of what NAEC tries to do is bring everybody together and network and, put that personal touch to it.
yeah, yeah. And I've heard from so many people just how valuable that is, whether it's learning about safety or even learn how to troubleshoot different machines. If they know there's somebody out there they can call, and I do think that's a big part of what makes the industry special is just that people are willing to take a call and to help out.
They are. I've never heard of anybody refusing to help somebody. I don't care what
Yeah,
side of the aisle. They're there to
yeah,
help.
yeah, which is awesome. So Dave, we're about out of time, but I guess the last question I want to ask you is what is one message that you would like to give to the industry and to our listeners?
The one message is if there's something you don't know or somebody you need to be in touch with, reach out to anybody in the industry, especially NAEC. We're here. We want to help everyone if we can. And if we don't have an answer, we would like to try and put you in touch with somebody that you could get the answer from. And again, that would be my message is be safe out there. There's no question, not worth asking.
I love that. Love that. That's perfect. Dave, thank you so much for being with me today. I've enjoyed it as always.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. It's been awesome.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. Please visit our YouTube channel at Elevator Careers or check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.